Oh god, what a battle. It's like your mortal enemy versus the person that thinks your mortal enemy is cute. I have talked about both of these games so many damn times. But not in really the context that I want to talk about them today. Which one is better? Super Mario All-Stars. Now, when I say Super Mario All-Stars, I'm talking about this version in particular, the 25th Anniversary Limited Edition on the Wii, versus Super Mario 3D All-Stars on Nintendo Switch. Because if we're judging like either one of these to the original releases on the Super Nintendo, obviously viewing this in the context as this is a new game on the Super Nintendo, it will be no contest. This puppy revolutionized video game compilations and remakes. Like, I don't really think there was anything like it before. You take Mario 1, 2, and 3, the Japanese Mario 2, available for the first time in North America, put them all together on the Super Nintendo where you couldn't play them before, give them fancy new Super Nintendo graphics and sound. Like, this was an outstanding deal. Now, I usually play the NES games more often, mainly because they're more accessible. And in many cases, they were the ones, I grew up playing, the ones that I'm familiar with. But the All-Stars versions are damn cool to experience. It's really cool to see, like, background details being added to the graphics. Like, what once was just a black screen in the original Super Mario Brothers, you now see so much more detail. You get to see, like, oh, wow, that's what that was supposed to represent. But speaking of the original Super Mario Brothers, I think that is Mario All-Stars' biggest downside. Mario 1 in this game just doesn't feel right to me. The physics are just weird. It's like when Mario hits a block, he just immediately goes right through it. It's not like it bounces him back. It's just strange. It's not a deal breaker whatsoever. It's just strange. But overall, an amazing cartridge right here. Probably one of the best Super Nintendo games if you count this, since it is kind of a remake compilation, but still, absolutely incredible. And how do you add upon it? With another game tacked on. It's Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World. This is literally just Mario All-Stars, but with Mario World added to the game selection menu. They tweak Mario World a little bit, Luigi has a new sprite in the game. I just slapped myself, that's how cool it was. But this is pretty much the same game, but with another game added. So, hey, this is obviously the superior cartridge. So not only do you have some of the greatest games of all time in Mario All-Stars, you have another one as well with Mario World. So I'd love to see how Nintendo one-ups themselves next. Well, it's taller now. Released to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario All-Stars Limited Edition on the Wii. I remember seeing this come out and I desperately wanted to scrounge up the cash to pick this up. It was only 30 bucks. And just the box set and everything, being able to play Mario All-Stars, I mean, it was so damn cool to me. Unfortunately, I didn't get the money in time to pick this up. And by the time I did have $30 laying around, I mean, it's limited edition for a reason. But this is one of those limited editions that's not like really limited, like in a rare way. It's more so limited as in they weren't producing them for a prolonged period of time. Like after a couple months, boom, this was gone from store shelves. And because of that, the prices went up on this bad boy like crazy. Like this was like a $70 game for a bit there. And for what, you may ask? Nothing. When I say this is Super Mario All-Stars on the Wii, this is literally Super Mario All-Stars on the Wii. This is no different from a virtual console game you download from the Wii Shop channel. And Super Nintendo games on the Wii Shop channel were generally $8. This is $30. To be fair, you get 4 Mario games here, but this still, come on. They didn't change a damn thing with this game on the Wii. The only thing you get is like a special Wii menu screen you do by selecting the disc channel. That's pretty much it, unless you want to count the new Wii remote controls. Like, what the f*** are you talking about? That kind of implies that, I don't know, you can shake the Wii remote or something like that. No, it's pretty much just allowing you to play the entire game with the Wii remote on its side, with the 2 buttons like an NES controller. which if this was a Super Nintendo Virtual Console game, you couldn't do that. You'd have to use the classic controller or the GameCube controller. So they're not lying here, but they are. This is such a shameless ROM on a disc that they had to specify here. This game was originally released for the Super Nintendo. The ability to use Wii controllers has been added to this version. They pretty much just say, like, yeah, this is just a Super Nintendo game. I guess they never really wanted to put Mario All-Stars on the Wii Virtual Console because it's kind of a tricky thing to price. You know, like Virtual Console games for the most part followed like a very strict pricing structure. Super Nintendo games were all $8. There were some exceptions, but like it would only be like maybe $1 or $2 more if it was like an import game or something. Mario All-Stars, if you price this at $8, I mean, like, the NES games were $5 a piece. So if you would buy all these games separately on the NES, it would cost $20. So why wouldn't you just get Mario All-Stars and get all 4 of them for $8? So I think they stayed away from putting this on the Wii Shop channel for that reason, and re-releasing it for the 25th anniversary kind of gave them an excuse to. But thankfully, with how Nintendo does things now with Nintendo Switch Online, they are able to re-release Super Mario All-Stars that way without really giving a damn, you know? Just throw it on the subscription service. Who cares? You're already getting all these games a part of it anyway, so it's just like, yeah, sure, go for it. But as a big 25th anniversary celebration for $30, this sucks. But that's without the special bonuses right here. Yeah, of course. I mean, it comes in a big box for a reason, and they do specify a cool history booklet and soundtrack CD. I thought this was kind of cool how they put both of these in just 2 DVD cases. So, you know, you get a little bang for your buck here. At least it feels like it. And yeah, we have the soundtrack CD. This is kind of lame. The first 10 tracks are all from mainline Mario games. So we have Mario 1, 2, 3, mostly like the main themes you'd hear from those games. But then the other half are just 1-second sound effects from Super Mario Bros. 1. I'd honestly feel less pissed if they just had the 10 tracks and that was that. Like, that's just such a stupid thing to put on a CD, unless you were doing like this huge 100 sound effect collection. I don't know about this one. It's cool, you know, like a soundtrack CD is cool no matter what here. But still, yeah, it's a little lame. They could have done so much more with this. But the booklet was what I always cared about. This is what I really wanted to check out when I saw this game was available back in 2010. And let's not get things mixed up here. This is still a really cool booklet. I love the layout of this. I think the graphic design is awesome here. It's so cool to flip through. You have this whole timeline here, in addition to this great collage of Mario art, and we have very cool photographs of Miyamoto there with all the games. And then we have these little tiny sentence interviews or just little trivia notes. And even though like a page like this doesn't really give us much new content to look at, it's still pretty cool. I mean, like the way they have this laid out, it's aesthetically pleasing to flip through. If this was expanded upon as like a big old coffee table book and, you know, like what they talk about here, you know, just interviewing all 3 of these Nintendo employees and them giving like one little trivia note. If they expanded upon this and turned this into like a full 2-page spread and gave us all this concept art here, which is amazing, dude, I would put this on every damn coffee table I saw. But the problem is this is such just a little cock tease, man. I mean, like stuff like this, I want to see more of this, but yep, that's all you get. And that's all we get for like concept art for a bit there. I mean, it's pretty much just a little bit of Super Mario 1, and then we just move on to Mario 2, Mario 3, and nothing special here, just little sentences from Miyamoto. And sometimes they don't even really say much. Uprooting and lifting things as you played gave the game a new feel. It was released in Japan as Super Mario USA. The basic controls have a very free, silly feeling to them that I absolutely love. I think it's cute hearing that from them, but it's also like, I want to hear more legitimate behind-the-scenes details. But we don't really get that, you know? And then we go into Mario 64 and we have more concept art. This is pretty cool, and that's all you get. And that's just kind of my biggest problem with this. And we get to Mario Galaxy 2, some concept art. That's pretty cool. That was the newest Mario game at the time. Some more concept art, promotional art. That's great. Merchandise. Oh, yeah. Oh, and then all these Nintendo employees making the number 25. That's so cool. Oh, and another collage, and it's over. I still think this release is really damn cool. I even made a full video about it on Scott's Stash back during the Peach Fuzz era of these ramblers on the carpet here. So I've definitely talked about this enough and the problems I have with it. But I still have a lot of love for this release, even if I look at it and I'm just like, God damn, is this kind of lazy? I mean, like, in some ways it isn't, but in most other ways, kind of ways that matters, it very much is. But you know, it's pretty damn interesting, which is why I kind of want to do this little battle here, because the same opinion is often applied to Super Mario 3D All-Stars. The build up to this game's release was insanity. So this was for Mario's 35th anniversary. It's pretty strange how Nintendo really kind of went pretty hard for Mario's 35th, and they didn't really give a damn about his 30th. With that one, it kind of felt like they just kind of stumbled into it, like, oh, Mario Maker's releasing this year. The great celebration of Mario's 30th anniversary, Mario Maker. It's just like, stop treating me like I'm dumb. You may be right to treat me like that, but I don't like it. That game just happened to release in 2015, so Nintendo kind of started marketing it as like this 30th anniversary celebration when it really wasn't. It was just kind of, it happened to be the Mario game that released that year. Mario 3D All-Stars and a lot of the other stuff that happened that year felt a lot more tailor-made to celebrate the 35th anniversary, which is a bit of an odd anniversary to celebrate, but it is a 5 anniversary. You know, the 5s are a big deal. But I remember earlier that spring in 2020, there was a lot of rumors going around about Nintendo like preparing to have a Mario explosion soon, with a big compilation of all these Mario games, all these 3D Mario games on the Switch for the first time ever, remade, remastered, all of that. And those rumors definitely really damn hurt this release. During the Mario 35th Anniversary Direct, this was kind of treated as their one last thing, that one big thing at the very end. The initial like shot when they were like, this is our last thing, and then it cut to the trailer showing Mario 64, I was a little disappointed. I was hoping for some cool ass thing here, like, oh man, you're gonna re-release Mario 64? Well, we'll do something cool with it. Add back some like cut content, add multiplayer, maybe do this big HD remake of it. And that first shot showed Mario 64 in 4:3 on the Nintendo Switch, and I could tell that was all we were getting, because they went to the trouble of changing the press start text to just a press plus. And I'm like, yep, that's what this is. At least Mario Sunshine was in widescreen, and Mario Galaxy looked pretty nice in HD, but yeah, that's all this was, the first 3 3D Mario games. Well, kinda. Because this was missing a couple of them here. If you wanted to be true, then the first 3D Mario games would be Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and then Mario 64 DS. Where was that, all the creeps in the world asked? But of course, you're missing Mario Galaxy 2, Mario 3D Land. To be fair, if you had to make a compilation of 3 3D Mario games, this was the one to do. The other ones kind of feel like they're not as necessary, I think. Even Mario Galaxy 2, as amazing as that game is, these were the first 3 big ones, you know, and they all kind of represent, you know, a unique side of 3D Mario, so I understand this. But with how quick this got announced and was released, like, this released like 2 weeks after it was announced, this feels like a bit of a cobbled together game here. So presentation-wise, I mean, like, the 25th anniversary Mario All-Stars is phenomenal. As lazy as this game is, they did not skimp on the packaging design. I mean, just the fact that you have this Velcro-infused flap, big old box with these embossed golden lettering. I love how this looks. It just feels so premium. And the general design of Mario 3D All-Stars feels like it wants to be that, but without the extra pizzazz. Like, no slip cover, nothing on the inside outside of just a bunch of screenshots. That's all this is. The damn booklet in this one had like that Mario art with him punching the 25 block. Like, you couldn't do something like that? To be fair, this one includes a soundtrack as well, but they're on like the game card. You have to go through the menus and listen to the soundtrack that way. I personally feel like a lot of stuff like that is just kind of added, not because anybody that puts this together truly thinks the consumer is really gonna listen to these game tracks in the Mario 3D All-Stars menu, or somebody's actually going to play the CD from this in their car. Rather, it's just kind of an easy way to add value to your package. And I will give Mario 3D All-Stars this. The CD in the Wii game had 10 tracks. This one has 175. It has the whole ass soundtracks from each one of these games. That's a pretty big upgrade. But at the same time, I think it would be a little cooler if it was like on an actual CD. You know, I digress. Now, the game itself, I mean, the original Mario All-Stars is one of the most influential remakes and compilations of all time. And I thought it was really cool that they actually went back to this naming scheme for the 3D compilation, because we haven't really gotten another Mario compilation since Mario All-Stars. So, does this live up to the original Mario All-Stars? Well, I think it's really tricky, because in terms of effort, it obviously does not. In terms of like quality, in terms of what you're getting out of this package, hey, it's pretty tricky, man. I mean, these are 3 of the greatest games of all time right here, and they're pretty beefy boys, and they're beefy boys in a good way. They have a ton of content to them. You can have an amazing time 100%ing a couple of these games. Maybe not this little weirdo, but I feel like you're gonna have a great time going through all of these, and they stand on their own content-wise. Like, they have a comparable amount of content that'll keep you playing to a lot of modern games these days. Whereas Mario All-Stars, I mean, like, these are also some of the greatest games of all time, but, you know, they don't last as long. They're not as meaty of games. Now, they put a lot more effort in this game in terms of remaking them, you know, giving them brand new, fresh 16-bit graphics. But when it comes to Mario 3D All-Stars, you know, obviously they didn't put that kind of effort into this, but did they really need to? I think with the modern gaming landscape, it makes more sense to kind of put these games out in kind of a remastered form on this cartridge. And then if they'd ever want to go back and remake these games fully from the ground up, you know they could do it, and they could charge $60 for that remake, even though they already released this compilation for 60. Hey, you know they could do it, and you know you'd buy it. If they did a Mario Sunshine remake, like, for 60, most people here would buy it. And I feel like there's value in having kind of a more basic remastered version available at the same time. You know, you get the full-fledged remake, but then you also get the more true-to-form version of the game. So I think this makes sense in the current gaming realm. It would have been kind of weird to have like a Mario All-Stars release and it's just the same NES games. Like they look and sound the exact same. Maybe they have like the higher color palette, I don't know. But they did a similar thing on the Super Nintendo with like Ninja Gaiden Trilogy, where that was kind of like mostly the same types of NES graphics. But still a little enhanced in many ways. It was weird. But what I think I'm trying to get at is, this is obviously a far lower effort than this was at the time. But to be fair, I think putting this on the Super Nintendo back in the day just required that extra oomph. You kind of needed to remake these games' graphics. You kind of needed to do all these things. Nowadays, we have emulation. It's so easy to take a game like Mario Sunshine and just put it in widescreen. So I think Nintendo was just being more resourceful with this and lazy. They were fucking lazy. Especially with Mario 64. Why wasn't that in widescreen? I've been on record saying Nintendo 64 games look gross in widescreen, and maybe Nintendo thought the same thing. Like, it just looks strange. Like, Mario Sunshine holds up today visually, which is why I think, you know, that game looks fine in widescreen. When you put Mario 64 in widescreen, it does not age well today visually. So when you put a game like that in widescreen, it looks weird. But I have to ask at the same time, why wasn't it in widescreen? It just doesn't make much sense to me. Like, these two games are in widescreen. You're going in and just kind of adjusting things here and there to make it a more modern experience, giving Mario Galaxy the option to not use motion controls. They went in and cleaned up Mario 64, which some people consider more of like putting a weird filter over the text, but I don't know, maybe they actually cleaned it up, or maybe they used a stupid-ass filter. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think it looks horrible. but it doesn't look necessarily like, oh my God, it's crazy better. Look at this before and after weight loss picture. Listen, I've been rambling about this enough because honestly, you can just keep not shutting up about this game and the weird choices they made with it. I really wish they went farther with this. I mean, like, these games are some of the greatest of all time. And, you know, just with how many amazing compilations are out there these days, how many amazing remakes, and this is what Mario got, it's serviceable. I mean, like, this is a good package. You're gonna get your money's worth out of this. It's a good way to play these games, but at the same time, they just do some weird ass things. Like on Mario Galaxy, playing in handheld mode, you have to use the touchscreen to use the pointer controls. That should be illegal. And hell, they put stuff like the soundtracks in here, which, you know, hey, the quantity and quality is a huge step up from Mario All-Stars on the Wii, but why not include like concept art or something like that? If you're not going to include like physical goodies like the Wii game, like, why not put them in the menus? You did that with the soundtracks and I barely listened to them. If you put concept art in there, like, I would actually do something with that. I'd actually go through the menus more. Instead, they have these dumb soundtracks in here, which is just to add something on the box to be like, look at what else we have. But it's just like, dude, everybody can just go on YouTube right now and listen to all of these soundtracks. Who cares? Well, those are my thoughts on pretty much all the games we're talking about here. The original, the Mario World, the Wii version, and 3D All-Stars. So, which one is better here? Well, obviously, both of these releases kind of dropped the ball in different ways. Where this one is amazing presentation-wise, but the game itself is really lackluster. And as lackluster as, you know, we can say this game was, at the very least, it serves a huge purpose. These three games were not on Switch prior. Hell, Mario Sunshine, this was the first time it was ever re-released. Like, there's just that value to the game itself, and the fact that all of these games were portable. But the presentation is so lacking with this one. It just feels really cobbled together. It feels like they just wanted to put these three games out on Switch, and obviously everybody wanted that. Everybody wanted Mario Galaxy on Switch, Sunshine, 64. I mean, this was a dream come true, and Nintendo knew that, but instead of making it this really cool release, they just kind of threw this together. And I don't even think it would have been that much effort to throw in, like, you could have just put the same kind of concept art you had in the Mario All-Stars booklet and just kind of put that as like a random little picture viewer in the menus. That would have been enough. I would have loved that. But I gotta be honest, you know, if I'm thinking of like which game has the most value, which release has the most value, which one could I not live without? Well, that's a stupid thing to say. I made it decades without owning these games. That's pretty badass, right? But I just see so much more value in Mario 3D All-Stars. Even without all the cool packaging, even with the increased price, you know, this is 60, this was 30. As nice as this is, I feel like everybody opening this up was disappointed. I feel like, how couldn't you be? I mean, it has so much potential. There's so much potential with this. Wouldn't it have been pretty cool to see all these games remade with like a new Super Mario Brothers style or something? I mean, that's kind of gross these days. Who the hell likes that art style? But in 2010, that would have been pretty damn cool. Wouldn't it have been cool to have a soundtrack CD with like 30 tracks on it, and you have like 3 tracks from each of the mainline Mario games on this CD? Wouldn't it have been great if the booklet was an actual goddamn history booklet? And at the bare minimum, wouldn't it have been great if Mario All-Stars on this game was the one that included Mario World? I feel like that's the bare minimum they could have done. And yes, you know, the general same quantity of drawbacks could be applied to like this one. This has, you know, just as many, maybe even more weird little things about it, little limitations, drawbacks. I just feel like this is one that makes more sense to own. I feel like everybody gets something out of this release. Even if you were super disappointed by it, you got something out of it. Mario All-Stars, this just kind of feels like a waste of space. It's a cool waste of space, but it just kind of feels like a waste of space. I just really wish they did cooler presentation with this box, you know, make it feel like a big moment, a big celebration. Even if it was something like the box art would be glittery, or even just the inside is goddamn something else other than just screenshots. But You can't deny how this is 3 of the greatest games of all time, available on Nintendo Switch for the first time ever, and they actually had to put some work into putting them on here, rather than just throw an SNES ROM on a disc. So thus, Super Mario 3D All-Stars is the winner, I guess. I mean, the kid with snot dripping from his nose beat the kid with shit in his pants. Wow, I'm so proud of you.